So this is the White Hat adventure game. It's a hacking simulation game I made for people to be able to legally practice social engineering and password cracking. So on the top left, this is the actual game running on there. The top right is where I'll be running a tool called GWEN for generating word lists and hashcat. The bottom left is just a little notepad for, you'll see it being used later on. The bottom right is just for the desktop recording. So right now it's showing the very first level, level 0. There's not really that much going on. It's just kind of left over from the demo version. And basically, the target chatbot will talk about liking numbers. And basically, if you put in a hint, it'll show you kind of the pattern for the password. And you note there it shows 6 numbers. So it's basically 6 digits. And right now I'm running the GWEN program for generating word lists, and there's a few options. If you choose the first option for this one and you ignore the start word and the end word, then it'll just generate numbers in between there from 0 to 6 digits. And that's what's needed to crack this current password for this target. So that it generated that, and now it's going to show the different files in that directory. And running hashcat, if you're going to be using that, which I recommend for this game, you're going to use 0 with the -m switch for an MD5 hash, and you're going to be using 0 with the -a switch to just do a normal attack on it. The first argument is the hash file itself. The second argument is the word list, the one we just generated for this particular level. And it looks kind of like hashcat takes a while to do its thing, but it's really actually very fast, and that's why I would recommend it for this game. This is a relatively small word list for this level 0, but it is going to get more complicated later on. And so yeah, I would definitely recommend using hashcat for playing this game. You can use other password crackers, but you're probably not going to have as much luck with them, and I would just definitely do this. Yeah, so I mean, this does look like it takes a while, but it really doesn't take that long at all and everything. So basically, once it supposedly cracks the password, you'll see on one line the hash and then the cracked password, and also there's a part that if it is cracked, it'll say cracked on it, and you'll see that on this window. So it's about to be done, and there you can see there's that line with the hash, and then I'm circling the password right there. If you look below that, it says session hashcat and then status cracked. So that means it was successful. If it's not successful, instead of cracked, it'll actually say exhausted there because it went through the whole word list. So now back on that other window, you're logging in as the target user, putting in that password, and that's how you complete a level. So there you go. That's level 0. Level 1 gets a little bit more complicated. The chatbot is a little bit better because it'll talk about different interests it has. In this case, the target is named with the username Brony55. And so you can see right off the bat, they're talking about cartoons. So then it makes sense to kind of ask them about cartoons and everything. But if you see that they said that's a secret when you ask them your favorite cartoon, the reason for that, you have to earn their trust first, and that's a reoccurring theme in most of these levels. So you have to say things like, you know, I like such and such cartoon and things like that, and their trust level will go up. Like, see how they say, I like SpongeBob SquarePants. So if you say, I like SpongeBob SquarePants, then their trust level is going to go up because they agree with you. And once it's up high enough, then you'll be able to ask them other questions to reveal more information. Like if you see too, if you type in the chat // trust level, it'll show you what the current trust level is. So that's good to know throughout the game and everything, because it does help you see, like right now the trust level is high. So now you could ask, what is your favorite cartoon? And they'll tell you, and obviously given their username, it makes sense that their favorite is My Little Pony. So then now this is where we use the notepad for this part. So it's a good choice that if you're setting up your notepad for these base words for GWEN to generate the word list, that you try different spellings, uppercase, lowercase, spaces, no spaces, things like that. And this is more realistic, really. If you were generating a word list to crack a real password, you would be trying all these because different people might write it in different ways for their password and everything. So you can see those four there, different variations on it. And so basically you save that list of base words into the right directory, and it's just going to be called words1.txt. So now we go back over to that window with GWEN and we run that again. And this time we're going to use, I believe it's option 2, so that every password will start with one of the base words followed by a certain amount of digits or special characters. And so in this case, it's going to use those 4 base words from the file. And you'll see here, after you name the list, then you put in the name of the base word file, words1.txt. And then it'll ask you if you want to generate that amount of data. You put Y, yes. It goes ahead and does it, and it doesn't take very long. And now we can go back up to hashcat again, but this first that will show the file we just generated for the word list and the actual hash file used for this target user. So there we go, it shows both of them right there. So we go back to hashcat. Now we could change the arguments to fit this new hash for the level in the new word list. So the reason why I named the word list that same name as the user is just because it's easier to see both of them at the same time when you use ls. And so there it goes. And this one was actually a little bit faster, and it's done. It's cracked. The password is mylittlepony981. So there you go for that. First 2 levels are really easy. Honestly, there's not really that much different every time. Like if you played it from the very beginning, the password would be different, but it always follows the same pattern. But it does get more complicated as you go on. So there's logging into that, and there we go. Congratulations, you completed level 1. So now level 2, kind of the same routine. You log in as yourself, the user you created at the very beginning, and now the new target is called the Chief 506. So we can go ahead and clear out that word file. We could just start the conversation with that chatbot, and basically the chatbots too themselves get more and more complicated as you keep playing it and everything. I mean, they are, I'll be honest, they are kind of lacking in a way. They don't really know that much, or there's not really that much they could handle. And honestly, like if you just say something random that they don't recognize, they'll say something random back, and it's kind of not as realistic as I really wanted, but it's all right. But you see how you're asking, like, you're asking what do they like, what interests you, what do you like to do, things like that, and they're revealing these different things. So then you could start building your base word file, and you can see there again we're doing different cases on it, like capital, lowercase, with spaces, without spaces, and things like that, all these variations. So again, you'll want to keep doing that every time and cover everything. So then you can keep asking, and again, since the chatbots do get more complicated, their interests get more complicated as well, where you're going to come across a lot more words that are popping up with their interests. You're going to be coming across basically as their trust level goes up, there's going to be kind of different sections of interest that'll only be revealed as that trust level goes up and everything. So you'll want to keep checking that trust level. And in some rare cases, if you got the trust level too high too early and you miss some of the earlier interests, you might want to start saying things that actually lower their trust level, and that way you'll be able to go back to asking them and revealing those like kind of lower interests. So I think there's enough for that base word file. Maybe a little bit more, but and yeah, so if you say something like I hate and then one of their interests, they're gonna basically it's going to lower their trust. And so, like I said, sometimes you want to do that in order to reveal some of their other interests. And if you ask them stuff like, give me your password, like, of course, it's going to lower their trust level. Now it's none. So if you say something, basically, it's like you're locked out now. But just for a little tip here, if you exit the chat and go back in, it'll be back to normal. It's just that if you grow their trust level a lot and then you lower it to none and you exit and you go back in again, then you're going to have to bring it back up all the way again if you want to keep getting all their interests and everything. So, yeah, so again, we're running GWEN and we're going to use, I believe, choice number 2 again. And we'll give the name for the list again, the same name as the username for the target. And we put in the new base word file, which is, by the way, called words2.txt. Yours will probably be different. Y for yes. And then it generates the word list. And this one takes a little bit longer because it's about like twice the size of the previous one, but there we go. So again, we could ls and see the 2 files we need for hashcat. So there we go. There's the hash and there's the word list. So then we change the arguments on hashcat and we put in the chief 506 hash.txt and then the chief 506 underscore wordlist 02.txt. And then we will attempt to crack the password with these 2 options. And once again, it looks like it's actually going pretty quick this time. Not sure why the very first one went kind of slow, but that's okay. It's not that bad. So yeah, we cracked it again. So now the password was James Bond 08. And so basically, when you play through again, like for this level, that interest that's used in the password is going to be different. The number that's on the end of there is going to be different. And that just makes it more realistic and more challenging. So it's not going to be exactly the same every time. I mean, you could probably do like a speed run of this game and just like already have all the possible interests loaded in these word files and word lists and everything. And then maybe you could blaze through it like very quickly and everything. So this one is a little funny. The user in level 3 is called Drunk for Life. And they openly reveal everything. Like you can't have bad trust with them at all. But they also misspell everything because they're drunk. And so we're going to clear out that previous word file. So yeah, basically you could be putting in how they spell it and then how it's actually spelled and everything. And again, all these variations where, there's spaces or not spaces and all that. And yeah, so it's really not that difficult and everything. The only thing really to keep in mind here is noting that they're misspelling it every time they're saying it. So you need to figure out the correct spelling for it. And so you could just keep asking them like, what do you like? Or I like whatever and things like that. In this case, you don't really need to say that you like the same things they like, because in this level, there is no interest level. They just automatically trust you. So there's another one. It looks like it says Moonshin W, but the correct spelling of that would obviously be moonshine. And there's a bunch of different ones like that. So yeah, so just keep in mind you're trying to find like the correct spelling, because their password is going to have the correct spelling and not their drunken misspelling of it. So there's another one. It says Cornona, but it should be obvious that's really, they're trying to say Corona. And that could be another one that's in their password. And I don't know, we could do like one more, but I think that might be enough to crack their password and everything successfully. I guess one more. And so yeah, they had a horrible misspelling of Jack Daniels there, but you could see um, basically the idea of what it should be spelled like and everything just by looking at it. And now, honestly, too, it can be kind of annoying in some of these that have a lot more interest that the random number generator is not too cooperative and everything. Where you might be asking them, "What do you like? What interests you?" Just like over and over again, and they're not revealing everything on their list. So that could be a little annoying. But you'll see a little while later, I actually had to redo one of the videos because there was a mistake in the code, and basically um, it wasn't revealing the final name needed for the list to build the password and everything. And I spent about a good half hour just thinking that it was a bad random number generator and everything. And it turned out it was actually a mistake in my code that wasn't showing that. So I had to go fix that. And obviously, I cut out the whole video on that. So you're not going to have to sit through all that frustration and everything. But so here we're going back to GWEN. And it looks like, yeah, we're using number 2 again, naming the word list file drunk for life after the username. And we're now using words3.txt for this list of words. There's definitely a lot more data being generated this time because the base word list is kind of long. So it'll take a little bit longer to generate it. And there we go, it's generated. So then once again, I mean, you don't need to keep using ls every time to show the 2 files and everything, but I find that's like a good habit to have before running another command, so you could easily see what you're working with and have the correct spelling and just like avoid anything like any problems like that. So once again, we're running hashcat and just basically changing the name on the file to drunk for life on there. And there we go. So we're running hashcat again. And there we go, it's cracked again. So the password is greygoose115. So I mean, it's pretty straightforward of a game. Honestly, like my original idea for it, I had envisioned it becoming like a lot more realistic than it ended up being and everything. And I would have liked it better if it was like that. I mean, it turned out okay, but I do plan on making like a second one and taking a lot more time on it and really making it more realistic as possible. So that's just something I'd like to do, but I don't plan on doing that anytime soon. I mean, right now I'm in the middle of a college semester, so I don't have as much time working on this stuff and everything. So this is the level 4. Username is Raiders557. So as you can imagine, they like sports, and sometimes you could say something that makes perfect sense to what the user is and everything, and they're not going to detect it. So they'll say something random, which is again not very realistic, but that's just the way it turned out. But yeah, I mean, obviously, given their username and the fact that they mentioned they love the Raiders, obviously those are some prime words to put into the base word file. So as you can see right now from the start, the trust level is normal. That's generally the case when you're starting out talking to one of the chat bots. And it could just keep going up and everything. And I believe this level has some interests that are only revealed once your trust level is higher than normal. And so you'll need to get those as well. And as you go on in the game as well, not only do they have more interest and you have to worry about the trust level going up and everything, but also um, there's like a bigger range for their trust level where it takes even longer to get it moved up to like higher than normal. And that's just something to keep in mind. So now you can see the trust level is high. So if you ask them again, what do you like after that, they're going to reveal something different. And once again, you're seeing basically like you keep asking the same questions, and sometimes they say the same thing and sometimes they reveal something new, so it just takes a while. And obviously, like if this was like a real scenario where you're talking to a real person and you're trying to get their interest in order to crack their password and everything, which is something you shouldn't do unless you actually have a job as an ethical hacker. But just for example, um, obviously, if you're asking them the same questions over and over again, they're going to get highly suspicious, and um, they're probably not going to reveal anything, and they might block you or whatever and everything. So yeah, I mean these chatbots are just not really all that realistic and everything, but um, it's just, you know, for practice of the concept, and at least like the passwords themselves are at least somewhat like realistic and everything. So we're going back over the GWEN. We're going to use option 4 because I didn't show it, but if you do that, the password hint for this, there's actually a few there's, it shows that there's basically like a couple words in it, and so we're calling the word list Raiders 557 after the username once again, and this time it's words4.txt for the base word file, and it's kind of a small file because there's not that many words going on, and it's generated. And once again, we're going to use ls Raiders 557, and notice there's a file called interest underscore Raiders 557. If you really want to play the game without cheating, ignore those files that start with interest underscore, because those show actually all the interests that are saved for that user, and those are the ones that you're trying to get in order to crack the password. So if you just look at that file, you know, I would consider that to be cheating. But you know, you could play the game however you want. It's not, you know, it's really none of my business. But if you don't want to cheat, just don't look at that file. So in this case, you could see we actually exhausted the word list. So it went through the whole thing and it did not find a match. So in this case, I think we asked what do they like just a few times more, and until they revealed something that wasn't on there. And you know, in some sense, I kind of cheated on here though. If you notice, I deleted all the interests except for Raiders, because I already know Raiders is always in their password. And so basically, we're still trying to find something else that they haven't revealed yet. And so it's just kind of the same thing. What interests you? What do you like to do? And we're stuck with a crappy random number generator here that's just revealing the same thing every time. So we're going back and forth. And again, they were just revealing the same thing. So we just keep trying. In hindsight, I think like if I end up making a second game and everything, I'll make it so once they reveal an interest, they're not going to repeat the same one again for like several responses or something like that. That would be more realistic, and it would be less annoying when you're trying to get all the interest and everything. So I think that would be the best choice for that. I mean, again, in hindsight, yeah, that's what I should have done, because I mean, you look, it's just the same thing. So, um, yeah, I mean, so we're basically just keep trying, and they keep saying the same thing, and you'll see this is like kind of a reoccurring theme with this and everything, where you're trying to just get like one more word for the list that you need, and they just keep repeating the same thing. And so it becomes just a matter of like literally switching back and forth between two different phrasings of the same question and everything, until finally they yield and they give you something. And there we go. Finally, we get a word that we didn't see before. So baseball. So we go back to GWEN, and we repeat the same option. Number 3, I believe. No, number 4. And we put in the same words, 4.txt. We can give it the same name, and it'll actually overwrite the previous word list, so we don't have to worry about that, about having an extra copy or anything like that with, an extra number in the name or something. But we could use the same base words file now that we have different words in them. And this one will be very small because there's only 4 words in the base word file. We could run hashcat with the same exact options because all the names are the same. And it should blaze through this one very quickly. And yep, there we go. So the password was Raiders Baseball 64. So we're successful on that. And there's just a little smartass thing because like, I was frustrated with the whole thing. So we log out, or quit actually. So we quit out of the chat, we log out, and note that all the commands in this game, you do // I don't know why I did that. Like, I know on one of my chat bots, there's like a thing like that for certain options and everything, and I've been using that for a while like that, so it's just, I don't know, I use it that way. So that there we go, successfully logged in, and now you'll see that the screen, all of a sudden everything is off of there, and it's like everything reset. That's because of what I mentioned earlier, having to do level 5. There was that mistake I found in the code that was preventing the chatbot from revealing one of the names needed. So I had to go ahead and fix that, and then redo the recording of the level. There was actually another mistake I found in a later level and everything that actually affects all of the chatbots because of the certain phrasing. And there's like a certain thing that you could put as input that it was detecting in one way, but then when it would try to do a pattern match on the next line, because the re.match is different than re.search, in a way, the match wasn't actually happening on the second one, and it was causing a problem because it was trying to grab from a group that didn't exist, and so it was having all these problems. And I fixed that, and you'll see that later on. I think I left it in the video. So this one you're talking to is Crazy Cat Lady 853, and she mentions, now this is a hint here, that she has 10 cats. Actually, no, I'm sorry, I have 8 now, So if you ask her what are your past pets' names, at first she says she doesn't want to share them with you, and if you look at the trust level, it's just normal. So you'll see how that plays out later on. And so there's one pet name, and just a note. I mean, since this video is like essentially a walkthrough of the game, I'm just gonna tell you that in this case, all the names are kept capital, and you're gonna need all of them. So there's another name. And since we know we need 10, at least like that makes it easier. So if we just keep talking to the chat bot and everything, so there's a couple more names. And that's really the better choice to ask, what are the names of your pets, or what are your pets' names, because the chat bot will actually reveal 2 of them at the same time. And that makes it a lot faster in trying to get all the names. So there's 2 more. So that leaves 4 more. And so you could say things like that to raise the trust level. There's another name. So once we have 8, then we can start really bumping up the trust level and everything. And then we can go back to that same question from the beginning. And if you ask this chatbot like about the specific cats and everything like that, that'll raise their trust level and all that. So you can keep doing that. When you say like, what do you like about so and so, and in that case you don't have to spell it capital if you don't want it. But yeah, so there's something different for that chatbot to say for every one you talk about. And it seems like once again we're kind of stuck with the random number generator, because I mean really like you're looking for just like one more normal name. And you know, so your chances is like 1 in 8 and everything, so you might have to keep asking them repeatedly. And now the trust level is high, so now we can go ahead and ask them what are your past pets' names. And they mentioned 2 more, so that's 2 more for the list. Now you're just trying to find one more, and this one, sometimes it could take a while and everything, but yeah, I mean, all you need is one more. Once you have all 10, there is an option with GWEN for this particular type of word list and everything to use all 10 in the list. And if you're using GWEN in the real world scenario kind of thing, I recommend not using more than 10 words in the base word file for that particular type of word list, because it's going to create way too much data. Yeah, so again, it's just going to be repeating the same names until you find one, the missing one that hasn't been revealed yet and everything. And there we go, there's the missing one. So yeah, I basically, in the previous recording, I had gone through about half an hour of doing this over and over and over again and not getting the final name, only to finally look at the code and realize that I had made a mistake and it was never going to reveal that name. So yeah, that was a very frustrating time. But I mean, that's why if you're going to be debugging a program and everything and testing it out, you should be looking at the code as often as you find a potential mistake and everything, because you'll probably save yourself a lot of time. So in this case, we'll be using Oh, I had the CD into that directory first. So we'll be using GWEN again, and in this case, we'll be using option number 5. And like I said, it'll actually warn you at some point when you're going to put in the base word file after you name it. Basically, it says do not, or not. It doesn't say do not, but it says not recommended more than 10 base words, because the more you put in, it'll grow exponentially larger. So you just don't want to be using more than that. And in a real world scenario, you're probably not going to be using more than 10 words in one single password anyway, but in some rare cases that might come in handy. So once again, as I mentioned, just ignore those files that say interest underscore unless you want to cheat at the game. I mean, again, it's up to you, but yeah, so we already had those options in there from the previous recording and everything that I deleted, so I didn't have to retype all that. And it goes ahead and goes through there. And as you can see, that whole long thing with all those names in it is the password. And every time you play through this game, it's going to have the same exact names, but they're going to be in a different order. So as far as replay value, if you save the word list you made from the first one, you could actually use it every time. So it's kind of not that great and everything, but I can imagine if someone actually did want to do a speed run of this and they wanted to do it without like acting like they have any prior knowledge or something like that, they would have to get the names revealed in the chat and everything, and not have word lists already made ahead of time and things like that. But I mean, I don't think anyone's gonna do that. But yeah, so originally I was gonna end it here after the 5th level and everything, but sometime later I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go up to basically like the second to last level and demonstrate all that. I decided not to reveal what to do in the very final level, which is level 9, and just leave it at that. So if someone is playing through, hopefully at least like the last thing will still be a challenge, like if you're actually watching through this whole video. So right off the bat, the password hint for level 6, 2 to 4 words, 4 numbers. So the username for this one is monkeystinks52. Don't ask. I don't know. I don't know. So again, right off the bat, you're asking, or right off the bat, you said something and already they're revealing some of their interests. So you could put in poetry. Now, note that they said I like writing poetry, and there's going to be stuff like that where there's like kind of a verb followed by an interest and everything, and you only need to worry about the interest. You don't need to worry about the verb. Although you can say things like, you know, that you like writing poetry and things like that, and that'll bump up their trust level. But you don't need to worry about writing poetry and things like that in the interest. And so you can see, like, I don't do that in that word list at the bottom. And once again, though, you might want to take note of like having it with a space and without, and like interests that have more than one word. Like as you can see with video games, there's one without the space, there's one with it, and that's just a good habit to get into. Now, I don't know why I threw this in there, but like almost every chatbot, if you ask them what is your favorite movie, they typically have something to say, even though, and I'm even writing it in this list down here, but those like never pop up in the actual password. So I guess in some sense, they're kind of like a distraction from the actual information you need and everything, just to make it a little more challenging. But I could have done something that would have thrown that in there and actually have it in the password and all that, but I just never got around to it. So right now we're trying to bump up the trust level to a higher level so they could reveal more interest and everything. So, and there's another thing they didn't mention, and that's the trust level is still normal. So if we say like, what do you like about chess? Of course they don't recognize that. Yeah, okay. But in the future ones, when you ask them what they like about something, they will actually respond back with what they do like. So I think like saying one more thing will bump up their trust level to high. And yeah, so that was right. So now, again, if we ask them, what do you like? Now that the trust level is bumped up, they'll mention something new. So I think I'm trying to get just one more interest out of them and everything. And once again, we're stuck with them basically repeating the same things and all that. Now, like I mentioned before, though, too, I really wanted to make a better chatbot for this thing, and I have made chatbots that are capable of learning and all that, but those didn't really seem applicable to the situation and everything because I didn't really want these chatbots to be able to learn anything because that would make things more complicated in a bad way for this game and everything. So I don't think that would have really worked out. And you notice in this case, we're running GWEN 0p04. It's a newer version. There's just one more password pattern added to it that's going to come in handy later on. Yeah, I made a mistake. So yeah, it wasn't supposed to be choice number 5. It was supposed to be choice number 4 for this one. But 5 is the option we'll be using on, I believe, the second to last level. And I would note too with GWEN, which is also a tool that I made myself and everything, it will warn you before you generate the word list file, the size in megabytes and the lines of data. Before you actually do it, it'll warn you and ask if you want to continue. The reason for this is that at some point I had made a word list generator for like all possible alphanumeric 8-digit passwords and miscalculated the size of how big that would actually be and everything. And I pretty much used up all available storage on my Kali Linux USB. So that was a big problem and everything. So now I am very conscious about calculating that size ahead of time and everything to know before I generate something way too big and everything. Like it ended up not being a big deal. I just like stopped generating and then deleted it and all that. But that's just something to keep in mind, to pay attention to that. So we were successful with this password with just that list of words we got. The password was video games animation 6457. So we're logging in as that user now. And we already copied the password, so we just pasted it in case you're wondering why that shows up there so quickly on there. So now we're at level 7. This one gets a bit more complicated if you, in this moment here, if you look, there's actually 2 targets. So the concept with this one is that you're actually trying to hack one target so you could use their account to get the info from the other target and hack them. And then once you hack that second target, then you complete the level. So I already know what's going to happen here, but just for an example, if you go chat with Johnny Boy 082 as yourself, then you're going to see what happens with whatever you say to them. So you can see they're you could say different things, but they're not going to reveal anything to you and everything, and that's because they don't trust you at all. So now we quit the chat. We go into the chat with the other user, Friends Forever 28. And you can see right off the bat, they mention their friend Johnny. So that's something that's very important for building that base word file, as you can see down there. And again, we do uppercase and lowercase. And they are very open right from the beginning. They start mentioning their interests. And yeah, there's like I can't remember if it's like a 50-50 or a 1 in 3 chance that they'll, like, everything you ask them, they're going to mention their friend Johnny and everything. So that's kind of annoying. But there's another one. And see, once again, it says drawing cartoons, but really you just have to worry about the word cartoons, not what they like doing with it and everything. So there's another one revealed, manga. I think we do like a couple more. Oh yeah, so this is where I spotted that mistake. Um, Basically, the problem was in re.search, it was matching. If you said something, comma something, I like something something like that, and but the problem is the re.match after that that needed to grab something out of the pattern match was not matching that and everything, so it was causing a problem when it was trying to access the group, and yeah, so I found out a way to fix that, and now it's all working and everything. So I had to reset that, but we still have the words. The words are the same because the interests are saved in between. Like basically, like once you start a level, all the interests, the hash files, everything gets generated, and they will remain there even if you quit the game. The only way they'll reset is if you reset your user file.txt file. That's basically like has a copy of what level you're on, what level's hash was generated, and all the stuff like that, along with your username. So yeah, if you were playing this and for whatever reason you wanted to start over from the very beginning, you just clear out that user file.txt file, and it will start over from the beginning. So it looks like we have enough things revealed. So we're gonna try cracking the password. And yeah, just a note. So like, I made a mistake and I used the wrong choice for the word list being generated, as you'll see here soon, because it's not going to crack it. I should have used option number 4 again. And as you can see, that word list was exhausted because it wasn't the right pattern. It was not going to find it no matter what. And I realized I had made that mistake. I guess originally I had actually thought I had made a mistake, as in like not getting enough interest and everything. But at some point I realized that, yeah, I had used the wrong choice for generating the word list. The reason being for that is that in this password, the name Johnny is always at the beginning, and it's followed by one of the interest words. So the reason why you would use choice number 4 in GWEN is because you're going to be having the name Johnny at the beginning for word 1, followed by word 2 as one of the interests, and then followed by a few digits or so. Yeah, in hindsight, I think I probably should have cut that part out of the video and everything because it's just asking them the same thing over and over. And also just a note too, like I put in the name of that movie, even though, like I mentioned earlier, if you ask them what is your favorite movie and they tell you something, it's not going to be in the password no matter what. Um, but yeah, so here's where yeah, so I guess like if anything, this is like a good example to show you why you need to pay attention to the pattern of word lists you're using and everything because you're going to end up wasting a lot of time that's unnecessary and everything. And yeah, so finally, this is where I realize this is where if you look at when you're outside of the chat and you're logged out and you use // hint, it'll tell you the pattern of the password. And just a note, when it says like say 2 to 4 words, the reason why is that one word might have actually 2 words in them with a space or without a space. And so in the password hint, that would be marked as 2 words. So if there's 2 interests that have 2 words in them, then obviously the number of words total is 4 words. But when you're looking at GWEN, where it says, like word one, word two, and so on, what that really means is like an interest instead of just a word. So basically, in this case, you're using the one that uses word one and word two. And when you see the password, you could see Johnny game shows. So game shows is 2 words, but it counts as one interest. So I mean, yeah, and that might just make things even more confusing. But basically, we successfully cracked the password. It was Johnny Game Shows 92. But this is only the first half of this level. So just for fun, though, after logging in successfully to Friends Forever 28, and then notice I made a little note there just for fun. You can go enter the chat with actually that same user. And this is kind of like a little Easter egg. It's nothing spectacular, but they'll just respond like what the hell is going on and everything. And if you look at the trust level, there's another little kind of Easter egg there. Kind of dumb, but whatever. But there's no other point in doing that. I mean, they're not going to tell you anything. They're going to say the same thing over and over. But now when we go talk to Johnny Boy 082, you could see that now that you're logged in as their friend, and we'll go ahead and clear out that old base word file, create a new file, name words7 _ 2.txt. So now when you talk to them, they're going to be totally open about their interests with you because they think you're their friend. And this is where you get all the info on them and then build a word list to crack their password. And then once you crack their password, then and you log in as them, that completes that level. And there's only one more I'm going to show after that. As I mentioned, I'm not going to show the very final level, which is kind of like the final boss fight in a way and everything. So if you actually have been watching this whole thing and listening to this and everything, I would honestly rather have you like watch part of it and then decide you want to go play the game for yourself and you don't want to see all the rest of this. But if you're still watching this, just know that there's at least some level of randomness to it. So even after watching this, if you go play the game yourself, it's going to be at least somewhat challenging. I mean, you look at how long it took me to play through this, even though I made the game myself, I know all the details, but I was trying to play it as if I didn't know all the details and everything. So I wanted to try to test out how gameplay would be like normal. Another thing too, I tried to make this a little more realistic in this one, that since you're logged in as their friend and you're talking to them, If you say certain things that, like, if you ask certain questions that you should already know the answer to if you were really their friend and everything, their trust level will go down. Like there's one, I think, if you ask if they have any pets, they mention their cat, which you should have known the name of or something, and that like greatly lowers their trust level with you. But it starts out high from the beginning and everything. So and again, like I mentioned before, if you lower their trust to the point where they're just saying the same thing, and you can see there we talked about, do you have any pets? If you lower their trust level too low and they just repeat the same thing over and over again, all you have to do is exit out of the chat and then go back in, and you'll just start back at a normal level again. The reason I did that is I just thought it would be really annoying if you had to play the entire game from the beginning if you lost the trust of the target and everything. I just thought that would be really annoying, so I decided to not do it like that. I think we got enough information here to crack the password, but we'll see. So we're using option 4 again. Looks like we're missing something, so it went through that entire word list and it didn't work. So we're probably missing, like, I don't know, like one more interest or something like that. So once again, we're cursed by the random number generator, having the same thing repeated. And if you weren't paying attention to earlier, when I make a second, or when I make basically like a sequel to this game, I guess you could call it a sequel in some sense, there's like a lot more I want to do and make it more realistic. And one of the things would prevent them from repeating the same things like over and over again. That would be a lot better. It would be more realistic. It would be a lot easier to deal with and actually playing the game and everything. But I mean, like, I also keep in mind too that it would be so much better of a game if there were way more options of what you could actually say to the chatbot and everything, and they would be a lot more intelligent. But I just ended up not going that route with this one and everything. So I mean, in the future, I know I can make it a lot better than this. I have a lot of ideas. So since we're using GWEN and we're generating a word list using the same name as the previous, it'll just overwrite the previous one. And so that means we could use hashcat with the exact same options, and we don't have to change anything. And in this case, we cracked it. So the password was cartoons manga 728. And you might be wondering too, why do I put a number on the end of each password that's random like that? Number one is that without that, a user like or a player of the game might be able to just put in those interests like one after the other in the password prompt and kind of brute force it that way. And that's not very realistic, and it defeats the point of utilizing a password cracker for this game. And the other reason is that it makes it a lot more realistic having a number on the end, because I mean, to be honest, like a lot of people do that with their passwords. They'll put something at the beginning, they'll put some number at the end, they might put some like special character towards the end or something, and I mean that's just like a common thing. So we're on the second to last level, and that's actually the last level shown for this video. Um, so yeah, this one is pretty straightforward. There's only one user in this one, Redeye36. The only thing that's somewhat time consuming is that they actually have a ton of interest, and they have 3 levels. So right now, you start out with a regular trust level, and they reveal interest at that level and everything. And once it goes up to like mid, then they start revealing more interest for that level. And then finally, there's like the highest one, where they reveal a lot more stuff and everything. So their password actually utilizes one from their lower level interests, one from their mid, and one from their high. But as you could see, you don't really have to worry about that when you're making that base word file. You could just put in all the words in there, and then you use the correct option with GWEN or whatever word list generator you're using, and you should be able to generate what you need to crack the password. So right now we're at a trust level of slight. So if we say, I think like one more thing in agreement with them, maybe a couple things, then we look at the trust level, still slight. So now we're at a trust level of mid. So if we start asking them, what do you like, what interests you, they'll mention some things that they wouldn't have mentioned before. So in this case, we have vodka. And they repeat the same thing, of course. And yeah, honestly, their grammar is not always the best. On some of the things they say, I didn't really take into consideration. Some of the words they're putting together would not make sense together and everything. So again, you're just collecting up the interests, and well, I didn't even notice that I had actually misspelled something on there. I didn't actually catch that when I was recording that video. Yeah, just a note too. This voiceover is like separate from the video. I'm actually watching the video that's already output and everything, and I'm doing this voiceover at the same time and all that. And I think like in future stuff, maybe I will record the voiceover and the video at the same time, but it just seems like more convenient, I guess. So as you can see, the trust level is at the highest now, and there's a few more things being revealed. So just with that list, we're going to try to go ahead and crack it. And notice we're using option 5 now because it has 3 words, or I guess you could say interest, in the password followed by some numbers. Yeah, it looks like that didn't work. So what ended up happening here is that I actually gained the trust of the target chatbot too soon. And I kind of skipped over a certain interest of theirs, I think. So in this case, what I ended up doing was repeating some of the same things. We're asking, what is your password? And things like that to lower their interest. And you see that I'm repeating the same thing and doing that. And now the trust level is back down to mid. So like I mentioned earlier, you might want to do that sometime. And as you can see, I still did not catch the mistake of spelling basketball wrong. There's an extra T in there if you look down at the list at the bottom. But they mentioned something that wasn't on the list. So yeah, and I'm kind of making fun of my own program with the terrible grammar and everything. I think I'm trying to lower the interest level even more. I mean, the trust level, sorry. So now we're back down to a trust level of slight. Now, if we keep asking them, hopefully they'll reveal something we're missing. But if I remember correctly, oh no, yeah, action movies, I think that might have been in the password. Oh no, I already put that on the second one. Okay. So I think just having that extra one photos that I found was enough for cracking this password. Or maybe it was that one that was the needed one, math problems. So we're back in GWEN, option 5, same name for the file, so it overwrites the old one. Same base word file. This one's kind of a large file, so it took a while. So we could just run hashcat again with the same options because the arguments are the same with the same files. And in this case, we are successful. It was camping photos yoga 106. That was the password. So 3 different interests plus some numbers. And so that's basically it. This was levels 0 to 8 with the White Hat Adventure Game, aka WHAG. It's a hacking simulation game. I mean, obviously you know that by now if you're this far in the video. But once again, I'm not going to show you the final level and everything. It's not that much more complicated than the second to last level. The password itself has a very similar pattern to it. The difference really is there's an extra layer of security, I guess you could say, that might make it a little bit more frustrating. But this is all I'm showing for that, and I really hope someone can enjoy this game and actually get something out of it. So I hope after watching this video you feel up to playing it yourself, and that's all. So enjoy. Thank you for watching.